Every hobby is one key decision away from becoming a profession. This show is about answering the question, should you go for it? I wanted to start out with the solo podcast to explain, first of all, where the name comes from, why the podcast exists, and how my career changes actually led me to where I am today. So how did the Cheeseburger name come to be? My background includes being in the corporate world, also being in the golf college, being a golf professional, and now as a photography business owner. So how did Cheeseburger come to be? When I was in school in golf college, I went to a clinic and we were learning how to teach golf. And one of the things we learned was how to teach tempo. So I learned the word cheeseburger. For those of you that know golf, it's the tempo of the swing. Cheeseburger. And you could say 1, 2, you could say tick tock, whatever works. Cheeseburger just stuck. And I had said it so often in my school, to my students in class, that they're like, hey, why don't you just call your business Cheeseburger Golf? And that's where it came to be. The Cheeseburger Golf stuck with me for a long time. I was a golf professional for about 12 years, and I still am teaching today. And then I got the idea of starting a photography school. When I was looking for the name, most of the names out there are going to be the formal person's name and then photography. So for me, it would have been Jorge Arteta Photography. And I'm like, well, that's not going to be very memorable. So what if I brought over Cheeseburger? So I'm like, Cheeseburger Photography with the tagline, just say cheese. And so that's how the Cheeseburger name came to be. So what were some of the things that helped me create a successful business? In relationships in the corporate world, it is about trust. Do the coworkers that you have trust you to do the right thing? I learned that very quickly when I opened up my golf school. I started with zero students, everybody, and I put an ad out and I got one of my first students in there. And the name of the game was trust. Did I make it fun for the person? Did I have them learn something? Could they actually see results by hitting the ball and watching it go up in the air, which is what most of the time would happen? One thing that I'm very proud of coming from the golf school was that over 90% of my students, I had over 100 students. I've given thousands and thousands of lessons, but I had over 100 students at one time. The one thing that I'm really proud of is I had over 90% referrals. So I hardly did any marketing. I didn't have to use much social media, and social media back then isn't what it is today. It was clearly that I had a passion to teach, that I really wanted the people to have some fun, and I wanted them to have fun and see the ball go where they wanted it to go. One of the coolest things I experience when I'm a teacher is when that person hits their first ball flush. They turn around, they look at me, and they're like, can we do that again? It's a great feeling. It's very rewarding. So when it comes to building your businesses, whatever business you're looking into, whether it's your hobby of gardening, whether it's your hobby of record collections, whatever it is, can you build trust with the clients that you want in the future? So a little bit about my background. I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Florida, and I also have an MBA degree. I was very fortunate to get the MBA degree because it really helped me in terms of what I got to do later on in my career. Some of the companies that I worked for include Goya Foods, Boise Cascade Office Products, H&R Block, and the Home Depot. A lot of training, a lot of big companies, a lot of national recognition and resources. I was fortunate enough to be able to work in the corporate world at the headquarters, and I was also in the front lines. For example, at Home Depot, I was a store manager, and I was right there in front of the customers. So it was a great training, great real-world experience that I had. And then one day I decided, you know what am I going to do? I really don't want to stay in this world. I started getting into golf a little bit, and one of my friends says, well, why don't you just go into golf and make it your career? And so I ended up in Orlando. I went to golf college for a year and a half. And when I graduated, I opened up my own golf school. And I also I was very lucky enough to work at various golf courses throughout Central Florida. So that really gave me a great background. I was doing that for about 10 years or so. And unfortunately, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And while I was visiting her up in Chicago, that's where I'm from, that's where I grew up, I had a lot of time on my hands. And so I found an old camera, and I went to downtown Chicago, which is a fantastic canvas to shoot photography. And I just started taking pictures. One of the things I did was I took pictures of my mom's backyard, the house where we grew up in. We still had it. And she hadn't been home in about 2 or 3 months. And so I ended up taking pictures, and I printed the pictures and I brought them to her at the hospital. And she got so emotional. It was very similar to the feeling when people hit the ball really well in golf. And I'm like, that's rewarding because they get so emotional that they hit the ball so well. So once I saw that my mom got really emotional about those pictures, I was like, oh, this could be cool. I think I should take a look into it. I was used to being on the video side of things because I had my own YouTube channel for golf. But then this came around with the photography. And then here I am in the last year. I started a photography business, and I am part owner of a studio. So it's been very, very cool. Very, very rewarding. So career changes come with their pros and cons. And one of the biggest cons that people face is fear. Here's something I want to say clearly. Most people don't change careers because they're lazy. They don't change because they're scared. They're scared of losing money. They're scared of starting over. They're scared that they may not even be good enough to take this to the next level. So you want to fight the fear. So how do you do that? One of the options, and you've probably heard this term, is the side hustle. Let's say you have the world's next greatest chocolate chip cookie. But how do you know? You start out with family. You start out with friends. You start out with cookouts. You start out with some sports events here and there. And you get them out there and you start hearing feedback like, hey, this is a really good chocolate chip cookie. I'm sure you've heard stories of Famous Amos and a whole bunch of other chocolate chips that are out there. But that's how they all start. Remember, Bill Gates started out in a garage and he built Microsoft. So you can do the same thing. Side hustles are powerful because they let you test without going into panic. You can learn, you can build your skills, you can see if the interest actually lasts. Clarity comes from doing, not from overthinking. If you have an idea, go ahead, try it part-time, do the side hustle, and see where you end up. So let's talk about the money. Everyone, of course, is going to be worried about the money and can you make money? I will give you something that I did when I first started with the golf lessons. I did it out of pure passion and joy. If you're good at something, the money will follow. My most successful positions and roles in my career were when I was thinking more about the task at hand or the business versus, hey, I want to go after this kind of money. You don't just wake up one day and say, I want to become a millionaire. Okay, well, in general, the objective is the money. It's not going to be too good for you. If your objective is, hey, let me do something that I truly enjoy, the money will follow. I poured my heart into the golf lenses. I tried to make them fun. I tried to make the kids laugh when I could. I tried to make the adults laugh. And yet, I still wanted them to hit the ball well. And it was great to watch some of these people develop and go on to like high school teams or college teams and this and that. And it was just really rewarding. But I never thought of, hey, I want to make $1 million here, instead of just saying, hey, I want to make this person feel the best they can. So when it comes to money, yes, the world runs on money. We know that. But if you really, really care about the passion and the people, you will become successful. The money will follow if you're good at what you do. So let's pause here for a second. If you want to change your dreams into a goal, the first thing you want to do is write it down. Do you mind sharing in the comments with me what your dream or what your hobby or what's something that you want to take and make it a profession or career someday? I'd love to give you some feedback. So let's see it, everybody. Write something down. So thanks for sharing your thoughts in the comments. I look forward to reading them and to responding to you. I'd like to talk about a couple things that I did that weren't hobbies that turned into professions. The first thing that I did was poetry writing. My very first poetry was written as a sophomore in geometry class in high school because the teacher was so boring that I had to do something. I was tired of writing long letters to girls, and I'm like, well, can I do this whole thing in like maybe one page? And then I started writing poetry. It was kind of funny. But because I was stuck in that class and the teacher was so boring, I just kept writing and writing more poetry. A few years later, about 22, 23, 24 years old, I published my first poetry book. It was called Me, Myself, and I, and it was really just about life in your 20s. It was pretty cool. My second book was written in my 50s. That book was called Moms That Helped Shape My Life. The whole book was being grateful and showing gratitude to all the moms and mentors that I had in my life, whether they were teachers, whether they were business mentors, whether they were other moms that I grew up with. All of that just shows the gratefulness that I had for doing that. And then the poetry book came out. I did not look to sell those books, my poetry books. Yes, they are on Amazon. You can get them on Amazon. But that's not my main point. It was purely just for fun. I liked writing poetry, and so I did that. Another thing that I did was a few years ago when I first started the golf college is I did have a YouTube channel. It was kind of funny because I got 61,000 views from a video that was a big company, a big wedge company. I had a wedge comparison. I was comparing a big company versus just a generic company. And because people want to save money on golf, they're always looking for a way to, hey, can I buy something that's not so expensive and still get some good results? So I actually did a comparison. Now, hindsight is kind of funny. My friend and I shot this video, but it was one of the worst videos ever. But still, the reason why there were 61,000 views is because people wanted to know, can I buy a cheaper club and still get similar results to a more expensive club? And the unfortunate part was it was a horrible video. We did a couple shots here and there, and then that was it. It was maybe a 4-minute video. But the point is that to get all those people to look at it, they were searching for something. And it taught me a valuable lesson. Like, it's not just about, is the video good or is the quality good? The audio was good, by the way. Audio they tell you to always have. But it was the intention that, hey, here's something that people cared about, and they came in to look at that video. So those are a couple of things that did not turn into professions or hobbies. I was thinking of having a YouTube channel to review golf equipment and all that stuff. But after all the bad comments that I had, and I'm like, that's enough. We'll leave it there. And then I just went on. But it was a great, great learning experience. So why does this podcast exist? It exists to hopefully help you feel more calm and clear about the decisions that you want to make. Do you have a hobby? Do you have a passion that you want to think about changing into a career or profession? I have guests that are in their 20s and in college, and they are looking to start their careers. I have people in their midlife crisis trying to figure out what to do next. And I also have guests that are in their 50s and 60s, and they're still changing careers because they want to do something active and have fun. This podcast will hopefully share with you some options that you may be able to take and help your journey into becoming a career or a profession with what you love to do. Every hobby is one key decision away from becoming a profession. So what is it that's holding you back, or what is it that you're scared of in trying to move on from what you're doing now to something that you want to do later? Thanks for joining me on this Cheeseburger Lens. My name is Jorge Arteta, and I look forward to sharing more stories with you, more ways to take your passion and make it into a career or profession someday. Thanks for joining in, everybody. Ciao.